Hey guys, it's Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. A big shout out to all my new subscribers. I thank you all so much. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope that you've been enjoying this little series of the ultimate beginner's junk journal tutorial kind of thing I've got going on. Today I want to talk about pockets, tucks, and belly bands. So I have a little bit of a formula for this as well to kind of help you guys in breaking that kind of creative block in terms of what you should add into your journals, how many you should add, and this is just kind of a guideline. You can again do whatever you want, but if you're feeling stuck and you're not sure how many of each element you should have in a particular signature, this is kind of a guideline that you can start by doing, and then of course modify it as you go along and how you like to do things. So for my signatures, as we talked about in the last couple of videos, we were working on our signatures. We were working on picking out papers, putting them together, and sewing them in. Now I want to talk about how many of each things we're going to put in there. Well, for a signature, that's about 10 to 15 pages, so that's about the maximum I have for each signature I make, whether it is a 1 signature journal, 2 signature journal, 3 signature journal, what have you. It's about 10 to 15 pages that I kind of stick with. Again, do what works for you. If you want more, add more. If you want less, go less. It just depends on how thick your embellishments are and how many you're going to have in there. So just do what works for you. Pockets, I generally have 4 to 6 pockets per signature. And I tend to break it up so that when you're looking at a signature, so here's our first signature, we have 2 halves to the signature. So we've got the front half, and we've got our center, and then we have the back half of the signature. I tend to make sure I have even amounts or the same amounts per side. I just kind of feel it balances it out. Again, do what works for you, but if you're getting stuck on how many things to put in, this is kind of what I do. So for example, pockets are 4 to 6. So I'll have, say I want 4 pockets in total for 1 full signature. I'll do 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Tucks, I do anywhere from 2 to 4 tucks per signature. And then belly bands is 1 to 2. So hopefully you guys can see that there, okay? So I'll just kind of let that sit there if you want to take a screenshot quickly. Okay, so let's see what we have. When we made our signatures, we already had some elements already put in. For example, here we have a fold out page. So this page was actually longer than our journal cover that you can see. So I folded it in to create some interest. Now, you can leave it like this because this is a good writing page, and you can just have it as a flap or fold out. Or you can create this into a little tuck. And I think that's what I'm going to do on this page. So if you want, now would be a good time. If you want a thumb notch in here, remember you can do those any shapes you want. They can be ovals, they can be circles, they can even be squares, triangles, what have you, whatever kind of little notch you want. Or in this instance, because it's not too deep, I don't even really need a thumb notch in this, because whatever element I'm going to have in here should be big enough that I can pull out. So if I had like a journal card, do I have anything here? Don't really have anything close by me, but except for this index card, so we'll pretend that this is a journal card. If I tuck that in here like this, you can see it's going to stick out and it's going to be easy enough for me to grab. If I had a smaller element, that's where I might want to have that thumb notch in there. Okay, so this is basically really simple in terms of gluing this down. I'm just going to grab my art glitter glue. Use whatever glue works for you. I just find this is nice and strong. And I'm actually going to grab a, let's see, can I use this? No, that's not going to be big enough. I'm going to grab a clip, just so I can clip some of my pages out of the way while I work here. Okay, that's better. All right, so I'm going to start by, we want this to be the open end, so I'm literally just going to put a little bit of glue here and a little bit of glue here, okay? fold that over. There we go. So we have one tuck already. That was really simple, right? So perfect. We've got one tuck done already. Now, I kind of balance it. I find the coordinating page and I usually put the pockets on the opposite page or do the same thing on the opposite page just to keep it balanced. Again, you don't have to do it that way. So for instance, I'm going to find the exact same page on the other side and I have the same thing going on. Now I can leave this if I want. I don't have to make it into a tuck. I don't have to balance it, but I think that I'm going to have it balanced this time for me. That's just kind of how I want to work for this journal. Especially when you're mass making journals, I like to work on many journals at once, and then you can just knock out a whole bunch because you don't have to spend so much time thinking about, well, what am I going to do? Well, if you do the exact same thing on the other side, it's a pretty quick process. Okay, so I've got my 2 tucks already in this signature. Okay, so I'm going to move along here and I'm going to take a look. This is a great writing page. Again, I want to make sure I have enough space that the person can actually write in this journal. So there's room here that they can write something here. Oh, and then here we have a pocket. We already have a pocket. Do you remember that? I just got to pop this out because it's bugging me. So we have our doily that we already made into a pocket. So we've already got one pocket done. So we've got 2 tucks, and we should have on the exact opposite side, if I look, we should have a pocket on the other side as well. Where'd you go, little doily? There you are. So we've already got 2 pockets in here. And then I think that's all we have kind of pre-done. Yes. Okay. Again, we just really quickly created these pockets just by folding up part of that doily and then folding the doily in half into our signature and sewing it in. So that automatically created it. You can do the same thing, say, on the center of a signature. So for this, I could have folded this bottom up halfway and then sewn it in, and then I would have already had pockets. All I would have had to do was glue the sides down. So there's different ways you can make pockets. Let's start by me sharing a couple different pocket ideas with you guys. I've picked out 3 pocket ideas that I've recently seen, and I hope I've marked down correctly where I saw them. They might not be the original creators or posters of this idea, but this is where I saw it. So the first one I want to tell you about is the Try Pocket, and I saw this on Rach and Bella's YouTube channel. You can just search Rach and Bella and they'll come up. So basically it just takes a piece of scrapbook paper, digital paper, yeah, just any sort of kind of decorative paper. You can have it double-sided if you want. These are just 2 pieces that I had some digitals laying around, and you can see they're not the same size. I just cut off the white borders. It doesn't matter. You can make these any size. So the first thing we're going to do is, it's pretty simple. We're going to fold it in half the long way. Just grab my bone folder. And then we're going to fold it in half again. So kind of like, you know, the old style cards that we used to make when we were kids, right? So hopefully this will work if I can remember how to do this. So the first one, we're going to fold it down and meet the edge here. Okay, so we've got that folded down like that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this next one and we're going to fold it down as well, but not as far this time. Okay, so we're just going to fold it to about here. Okay, crease it down, and then we're just going to continue to do it again with this one. Like so. then we're going to leave this like that. So this is where kind of having the double-sided paper would work really well, because then you can just leave them like this. You can tuck them in like this, and then you'd have a different look here, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, and then you can actually, depending how you glue this onto the page, you could have a side tuck here or here. Does that make sense? But because this is just single-sided for me, I'm actually going to do a little bit of cheating, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to fold these in the other way. Okay, that way when I fold it back, you can see how it's staggered like that. Okay, so now what we can do is I want to, if you're an inker, you might want to go ahead and do your inking now, because it's just a little bit easier to ink it when it's not already glued together. So I'm going to ink this edge, and I'm going to ink this edge, and then this one, and then, did I do that right? Did I ink them in there? Yeah, so I got to do this one. I inked the wrong side of that one, that's why. That's okay. Not a big deal. And I'm actually going to kind of get some of this white area as well, because some of that is going to be shown, especially on this part here. Oops. Well, that's okay. It's supposed to be grungy. So just kind of inking this up. All right, let's take a look. Let's fold that back up, and then we'll ink the rest of the edges. So this is a really simple pocket. Now the only downfall is it does have a little, it's, you know, it is thin to say the least, but there's quite a bit of you know, waste. Like, this is really pretty. So I think what I would actually do with mine is I would clip it to a page. That way I'm not taking away the writing space, but I am still adding pockets. So for example, we could just clip that in here after I glue it together. I have a paper clip. So we'll just simply clip it to that page, and then the person can move it around. They can take it off right on here and then put it back over top. You know, they can put it in a different spot if they like. So yeah, that's a really quick and simple way to create a triple pocket, or a quadruple even, if you're going to glue it down to a page. Okay, so where we need to glue it, let's take a look. So we need to put a little bit of glue right here. Tiny bit there. Glue that down, and then the next spot we need to glue here, and then along here. Otherwise our stuff is going to fall out the bottom, and we do not want that. Okay. I dry baby wipe here. Alright, so we've got that pocket done, that pocket done. Now this guy needs to get glued, and he is just on this side. There we go. And I feel like that is just a little dull for me. So let me see what I can find to jazz that up. Maybe a number? Let me just take a look in some of my fussy cuts and little areas here. So I have these from the dollar store. I just labeled them for what they are, and then when I fussy cut stuff out, I go ahead and, oh, I like that. Let's just do that sticker. Just gives it a little something something. And maybe I need a little bit of book page. So let's look in my scraps for some book page. Sorry, I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just looking in I organize my scraps. And I just have to find the right thing of scraps for book page. So I kind of got stuff going all over. This is all plain. Bear with me, I know I have some. Let's take a look at my littler scraps. Oh, here, this might work. This is just a little piece from Tim Holtz. Or, let's actually use this vintage, this vintage dictionary. There we go. And I think I want that under there like this. Like that. Yeah. That just adds a little something extra to it. Okay, so now the trick is to get this glued down. Quickly ink it. So you can see how incredibly easy it is to create these. This is a really great mass make item. So you can pump out a whole ton of these and store them, and then when you need a journal, you've got them ready to go. And it doesn't take long. I find that if a specific piece of ephemera takes too long to make, sometimes I'm just kind of deterred. Like, I want to be able to make things quickly and enjoy the process. Again, it depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes I have enough patience to, sit there and do a more involved pocket or craft. And then sometimes I just want to get things created, especially when I'm trying to build up my stash. I don't necessarily have all the time in the world to be in my craft room. Okay, sorry guys, these are really tricky, these stickers. I love them, but I cannot get the backings off of them for love nor money. So I'm using my pen. If you have a better idea how to do this, like I would probably, if the back wasn't so smooth, I would probably literally just glue it down as is, to tell you the truth, instead of fussing with this, but okay, I got it. Whew, there we go. And then now we'll just stick this down about maybe here. It's not straight, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be. All right, let's make sure we put this back in. Otherwise our glue will goober up on us. So there you go. There is a really quick pocket. And again, we've got 1, 2, 3, and again, if you glue it down, 4. But I think because the back is so pretty, I think I would honestly just clip it in with a paper clip or a bull clip or something. There. So you can see how quickly those ones are. All right, so the next one I want to show you is by Corey Dahman. Let me just clean up a little bit here. Actually, I'm going to pause you and I'm going to clean up and come back so you don't have to watch me. Okay, I am all sorted here. So the next thing we're going to do is create a 3-pocket scrap insert. So I saw this over on Corey Dahman's page, and I thought this was a really great way to use up our scraps. We have tons of scraps, little bits of vellum. I have lots of stuff I'll tell you about here in a minute, but basically what you want is a scrap piece of cardstock. Now this is some Tim Holtz paper cardstock. And what we need to do is make sure that, I mean, you can make these any size, but I want to make one to go in this journal. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm going to make is not bigger than my page. So my page should be 5 1/4, yep, 5 1/4 by 7. Yeah, so I want to make sure whatever element I'm going to put in here is not going to be bigger than that. So let's take a look at this. as you can see here, I have this. I actually got this at the dollar store, and this is just some really fun decorative vellum. So you can use decorative vellum, you can use regular vellum, you can use vellum with quotes on it like Corey did, you can stamp on your vellum, you can coffee dye your vellum, print on it through your printer. Look at these, so pretty. Yeah, you can do all sorts of fun things like that. And I think I am just going to, I'm going to tuck that back in there. I am just going to use, oh, and you can also use, this is laminated glitter. You can use laminated, what is that called? Gold leafing. I couldn't find mine, so I just went with bronze and silver glitter, and I ran it through my laminator to create a nice kind of see-through element. And what else can you use? You can sandwich the stuff in between just acetate sheets if you don't have a laminator. So yeah, you can use all sorts of different things. The first thing we're going to do is, again, like I said, cut this down. So I want to cut it down. Let's see. If I did, just trying to get my measurements. This is 7. So that's actually the entire height of that. So let's do let's cut a 2.5-inch strip. I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer. So I'm just going to cut, a 2.5 strip off. Which way do I want to cut it? Because I'm going to flip the paper over. I guess it doesn't really matter. 2.5. Just cut it here. And then that is going to go like this. That's okay. And then we're going to have this piece be another little pocket. And actually, I think I want to cut this down even more. I'll just have a tall, skinny tag in there. Again, you can use whatever sizes work for you, whatever you have, whatever scraps you have. I mean, you don't even have to cut stuff down to size. You can just use literally whatever scraps you have in your stash. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So this is ending up to be 1 3/4. I want it a little bit more than that, because then I'll use a 1 3/4-inch tag. So this is a really cute piece. I'm going to keep that. Alright, and then I need to cut my vellum down. So we're going to have this piece like this, and then this piece is going to go just under like this, maybe down like that. And I should have a pencil somewhere in my stash, look at that. And I'm just going to mark where I want to cut it. I'll cut it here and here. Alright, let's cut it this way first. Another little piece I can save. And then this way. Perfect, save that. Alright, so I recommend, again, if you are an inker, this is the time you're going to want to ink. Okay, so let's go ahead and ink. Actually, before we do that, we got to put some notches in here. So for this one, I want just a smaller notch. So we'll try and do this somewhat in the middle. Let's go about here. Oh, that shot right in my eye. Be careful when you're doing this. And then the next one, I think I'm actually going to use my oval just to give it a little bit of a different look. oval a little bit deeper down, like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. And then this is going to go in like this, and then hopefully you can see that we're going to have a tag that's going to go in here. Okay, a tag will go in here. This is going to be glued onto the page, and then so you're going to have a big pocket back here, and then you're going to have another little pocket here. Okay, so at this point you can do one of two things. Oh, and I also wanted to show you this. So you can make this into a little pocket and just have that see-through. You could do it like this. You see that? Just how it's just something a little different, and then you can see, I don't have a tag, but whatever you put in there, you can still kind of see through, right? I think that's kind of interesting. So you could definitely use these for your kind of window type pockets as well. And when I say window pocket, I mean something that you're able to kind of see through generally. That's fairly transparent. Okay, so let's go ahead and ink. And then you can actually do these different ways too. Like we could have this going this way. Maybe like, how do we want that? So, yeah, we had it like this. So you could have it like this on your page. You can have it like this on your page. It doesn't matter. You can orient it however you choose, right? You can have it coming out like this, and out that way, have it this way, this way. Let's see, we could also maybe change this around a little bit. And we could have, say, like a smaller pocket here, and then like a longer vellum piece here, right? Like there's all different ways that you can go about this, but I'm going to do it this way. Okay, let's go back to making sure I've got everything inked up. And then actually what I'm going to do is I am going to sew around these. Now I'm not going to do that on camera because you guys don't need to see that, but I just like the look of the sewing on this, especially with it when it's vellum. Sometimes you can see that glue through the vellum, and I don't necessarily like that look. So that is how I'm going to get over that. And just, a nice little stitching detail as well kind of makes things a little more interesting. And go this way, like this. Just kind of grungy this up just a wee bit. Since I didn't coffee dye mine, you can totally coffee dye yours or just cheat like I did. Okay. So for this part, I'm going to just do a little bit of gluing, and this is just so that it's going to hold long enough for me to get to my sewing machine. Okay, I'm not gluing that just yet because I need to put this down like this. And glue that. This should hold the vellum on, hopefully. It's long enough for me to get it to the sewing machine to sew around. Need my little cloth here. Okay, so there we go. And then now, so that is a 1 3/4. So I want 1.5 inches maybe. Let's do a tag for this one now. I'm just looking in my scraps for what I can use. I want some cardstock. And I know I should have a ton of plain cardstock. What did I do with it? Don't you hate that when you just had something on hand? Oh, it's over there on the other side. Okay. Okay, so again, you can have a decorative tag if you want. You can, do patterned paper. This I'm just going to do it plain because there's a lot of pattern going on. And then this way you can either, put a word on there, or you can decorate or just have it as a place to write. Okay, so I said 2.5. That seems pretty big. That's because it is, because this is not, that's 1 3/4, I want 1.5. Gee, just about made a boo-boo there. That's why we measure twice, cut once, right? Okay, and then what I want to do with this is round my corners, and let's use our medium in there. Oops. And one more. Okay, and now I will ink it up. Just scrunchie it up a bit. Again, if you don't like to ink things up, you don't have to. It's whatever you like. Okay, and now let's see what I have in my itty bitty bits of lace to create a topper. Maybe, ooh, this is not an itty bitty piece, is it? That's a great big honkin' piece. I'm not exactly sure why that's in there. Oh, here's a piece that we could totally use. This is just a little bit of sari silk. Let's use that. Let's actually not put that back in there because that's not where it's supposed to go. Put that in there. Okay. So now this should fit nicely in here. Let's actually use my bone folder, and this will just help to kind of pop that a bit so there's a little more room. There we go. And then that should slide nicely in like that. Okay, so now what we need to do from here is let's put a hole in there. Now I don't want too big of a hole. And if you have fancy hole punches or tag topping punches or stuff like that, you can use those. I don't have that fancy stuff. I am just going to use my crocodile here, and I'm going to use the biggest hole. So there's 2 holes. I'm going to use the big one. Let's make sure. No, that's the little one. There we go. Now let's see if I can get it somewhat in the middle. Maybe about, let's go about here. Good enough. I could have come down a little more, but that is just fine. Okay. And then we will just take our sari silk, put that through there, and let's cut this off. Go like this, and like this. Okay, and I'm going to grab one more thing. I want, as I dump everything around. I'm specifically looking for this stuff. What's it called? Cording. So this is like bead cording. I just want a little piece of this. And I will tie it around here. I'm probably doing way more than I need to on this. Come on. Sorry, and this is going to be a little bit longer of a video than some of my other ones, just because I want to show you a couple different ways to do things. So there, I'll probably double knot that. You could tie a bow, but it's just, again, another little added interest way of adding a topper without, you know, stapling it, or just, you know, the regular ways of tying things together. Like a slip, what do you call that, a slip knot or something? I don't know. You guys know what I mean. There. And then we'll just trim this guy. These scissors are just brutal, and I can't find my other ones. It makes me sad because my other ones are so awesome. Okay. So yeah, if you happen to see a pair of green scissors with butterflies at any point kicking around on my desk, scream at me, because those are the ones that are my favorite and they've gone missing. Okay, so that is ready to go in here, like this, and then I will sew around here, and then we've got something that can go in here, and then this can get glued on a page, like this. Isn't that going to be super cute? I like it. And then what we can even do is, I have this little faux cardstock button. We can even embellish this. I'll put some twine in that button, make it look like it's sewing on, and then I'll glue this down, and then I'll sew around. So I'll show you the end of this once I've got it decorated. But there you go. That one again was the 3-pocket scrap insert by Corey Dom. And again, you can mix and match your papers. They don't have to be from the same paper pack. Make it how you like it. Again, it can go this way. You could have this notch up here and the little pocket down at the bottom. You can do all sorts of different things. So there is a fun piece of ephemera to go in your idea journals as well. All right? So let's put that aside and talk about our last pocket that I want to share with you today. Whoops, as I throw everything around. And it is called the Torn Edge Pocket, and I saw this on Mimi's Keepsake, I think is what it's called. And I'll show you how we're going to do this one. So I just have, again, a digital that I have laying around, nothing too exciting. Actually, you know what I need to do, guys? I'm sorry, I'm going to pause and clean up because I can't work like this, so give me 1 second. Okay, thanks for waiting for me. I needed to clean up just a bit and get a little organized for you. Okay, so what we're going to need for the next pocket, like I said, this I saw on Mimi's Keepsake, and I think she called it a peekaboo pocket. I'm calling it a torn edge pocket just because I remember that better. So we're going to need some book page, some scrapbook paper or digital paper, or it could even be a page from a magazine, a picture that you like. You can then, sorry, words are hard right now. Sometimes it works better with like thicker cardstock, patterned cardstock, but I'm going to cheat because I want to use this for my rose journal I'm working on, and I'll show you how I get around that. So I have just a piece of leftover cardstock. I have tons of bits and pieces, literally, of cardstock from different crafts, card making days, and I save them and I reuse them for little bits like this. So I also have 2 book pages here, so you can use like some newer book page if you like. This one is really nice because it's nice and thick, but I don't really like the color of this. I like the weight of it, but I don't like the color. I have an old book page here, and it's, you know, it's thick, but it's probably a bit brittle. But I like the color of this. So I'm actually going to kind of cheat, and I'm going to glue these two together so that I can have the look of this, but have the strength of this paper. We all have tons of book page, right? So it's not like I'm going to be short of book page pieces here for sure. So I'm not worried about using up my book pages. It's actually a great way to use them up, to tell you the truth. So I'm just going to quickly glue this on here so that it has some more strength. Just find my little tool here just to help me put it down. And then the next thing that I want to do is, again, I want to, because this is going to be a pocket that can either be, it can be clipped on a page as well, or it can be glued down. So I'm going to fold this over just to give it a bit more strength. Let's glue that. Like this. Okay. And then I don't want my page to be any larger than this. I've already measured, and this is actually an A2 standard card size, and I don't want my pocket to be bigger than this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry a bit, and I want to take a look at this image here and figure out which one I want. Now, because this is on just regular paper, or on, it's not a thicker paper, but I want it to be even stronger because it's going to be the front of a pocket, I'm going to glue these two together. So I think I want this image here, just like this. So just going to quickly cheat a little bit here, and trace that. Hopefully I can see my lines, and then I'm just going to quickly cut it with my paper trimmer. Okay, now I'm going to glue this onto this cardstock. And this will just give it a little bit more stability. Now the image you want to choose is something that you don't mind tearing down into. So if there is somebody's head here, I don't think you'd really want to tear down into somebody's head. So just keep that in mind with whatever image you're going to use. Now, I'm not perfectly on here. I'm going to trim this down afterwards. It's just to give it some strength right now. I'll fix it up in a minute. Now, when you go to tear something, there's two different ways to tear. If you were to tear with your left hand moving towards you like this, you can see that you have a nice clean edge. Okay? Can you see that? You have a nice clean edge. There's no white. So if you're not an inker, you might want to go this route. If you like the white edge look, then you're going to tear with your right hand towards you. I'm doing it on the other side. Sorry, then you're going to tear it so that it tears up the other way, and then you can see the white there. You see the difference between those? So this side, if you're not an inker, you might want to tear it so that you don't get that white edge like this here. And then if you're an inker, you can just kind of ink that up a bit to age it. And I think I'm going to end up inking the whole thing, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to rip, and however it rips is I'm going to rip. So I'm going to go down in kind of like a V formation. So do it like this. So tearing towards you versus tearing away from you, right? So this one I need to tear towards me. And let's go from this way, kind of equidistance. And we just kind of want a little triangle-like piece here. There we go. You see that? And then this, we just have a little scrap left over. And then, I mean, you can still ink it if you're an inker and you don't have that white thing. So now is, again, probably a good time to ink this part here and the top. So I'm going to give that a little bit of an ink. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to glue this onto here. Actually, I need to straighten up my edges a bit because I'm a little wonky. So let's cut this. Again, you don't have to. You can just ink around the whole thing and maybe no one will know, but I just want this a little cleaner looking for my liking. Make sure that's straight. Yeah, that looks good. Let's put the lid on our glue so it does not dry out. Alright, now we are going to take our glitter glue and we're going to glue the 3 sides. So I'm going to put my thumb here so I know not to glue that, because that's going to be the opening of my pocket. I will add the glue along here, and then along here, and the bottom. Then I will glue this onto our page. And the next thing we're going to do is just trim away the excess. Now I like to save these blank old book page pieces here because I can stamp words on them. I think that looks super cool, so I'll end up keeping this and then just stamping on it later. Tuck that to the side. And then trim this down. There we go. So we have a nice firm pocket. Oops, I'm going to try gluing that again. I pulled up just a little too quickly. I didn't give it quite long enough to catch there. Alright. Look how pretty that looks. You could even, how can I do this? So you can tear your V like this, and then you can actually tear little bits back and forth like this, and then curl over the edge as well. See if I can show you what that looks like. And just kind of, you know, make it look like it's kind of ripped and torn. And then I'm going to ink this up just a bit. Give it that age look. And then you can even say, you know, have that be the opening of your pocket. I would probably glue down these little floppy bits, just glue them right down, but then it looks like it's actually kind of like a rip in the page, right? You see that? So if just this was our pocket, see how cute that would be? And then you can stick stuff in there. So yeah, I think that is super cute. Let's try and get our bone folder in there. Just loosen it up a little bit inside so that we can get something in there. Oh, I did it again. But that's okay because I actually am going to sew around this. I just opened it up again. So I will be sewing around this. I like the sew-in look, and I'll show you guys that. But my problem is I'm not leaving this to dry long enough before I try and open it up. So let yours dry before you start playing around with it. Alright, so there are, I'll quickly show you those 3 pockets, and then I'll show you after I sew them. Okay, if you didn't have decorative paper like this, you can, or even with this, we can still go ahead and actually decorate this even more. Let's take a look. Maybe we want a label or something on there. Let's try, what do I have? We could put this on there. Let's use my fussy cutting scissors. Let's put the topper in our glue first. Like this. You could just glue it on as is, but I like to trim the edges off so that I get that nice label shape. Ink it up. There, now doesn't that add even another extra element to it? Let's go ahead and glue that down. So you can be as decorative, or, you know, depending on your papers, we don't have to put anything on here, but again, I just like the layered, it just steps it up a bit. Look at that. How super cute is that? Get in there, little glue pen, get in there. Okay. Alright, so those are our 3 pockets that we have so far. Like I said, I'm going to finish decorating this one up in a minute. We could definitely put something on here as well. And we may even want to maybe take this label, there's the same ones, and I could even like wrap that around. And then this could actually be another little pocket right there. So that's kind of cute as well. Alright, so there's 3 pockets for your idea journals. Alright, I'm going to come back, and next we're going to talk about tucks. Okay, so I am back with my little bin of tucks, belly bands, clusters. This is just things I've created, and I have labeled a little, I don't know if you can see that with the glare, but labeled this little clear container where when I create ephemera, I throw it in here, and this is where I keep all my clusters, tucks, and belly bands. So I have a few things here that I wanted to show you in terms of tucks. So tucks can be simple items like this little ephemera piece right here. We could have used this as a tag, as a belly band, but it can also be a tuck on a page. I'll pull in our journal just so you can see. So yeah, as we were talking, we have a few, like this is a tuck, right? We created this as a small tuck that something can fit in there like this. But we can also take this and glue it to a page and make it into a tuck. So a tuck is anything that you can literally tuck things into, right? So there is no right or wrong on how you create a tuck. A tuck can be made out of clusters like this. This is just little bits of scraps that I made into a cluster, put a focal point with a word on it. I can glue that onto a page and it can be a little tuck spot. I have a lot of examples here that I'll show you. Just move this out of the way. So yeah, just this one has, you know, a brad with the word love on it. I've got some trim on here, clustered pieces of paper and some thread. Again, you can see all the different types of tucks that you can make. Now, all of these can also be belly bands. So belly bands and tucks to me are kind of synchronous, if that makes sense. You can use them and or different ways. So for this one, if we put this on a page like this, obviously this is a little bigger. Let's try and move this out of the way. A little bigger than our page, but if we cut it down, it could be a belly band that we could tuck something underneath. Also, we could, just trying to see, I don't have any smaller pieces, but in terms of tucks and belly bands, you don't have to just think of them going this way, and you don't have to just think of them by going this way. They can also go on an angle like this. You can have two of them. So imagine with me, if you will, that these are belly bands and you can tuck something into these as well. So get really creative. I have these clusters made out of fabric samples. And again, this can be put on as a little tuck spot. All right, so the one that I wanted to show you today to create with you, hopefully we can do this quickly because I know I'm really long on time here, but I wanted to create a different type of tuck, one being a hidden tuck. So this will actually be something as kind of a surprise or just a little hidden place to put things. So I have cut this piece of cardstock, the scrap piece of cardstock I have cut it down to fit the exact size of my page. And I've used a die cut, just a metal die cut that I had, but if you have a cutting machine or you're really great at cutting out circles, you can use anything to make the circle, you can do that. You can just use your die cuts, your punches, you know what I mean. Anyways, just create a circle in here and cut it out however you want to do it. The next thing I want to do is actually put a piece of vellum behind here. And I think I have some scrap pieces, but to save time, I know I have a piece right here. And let's just cut this down quickly to fit behind that circle. Now, got my big cutter here. And I just want to cut a piece that is large enough to cover the circle, but not larger than my page size. So if I'm looking at this, my circle is approximately 3.5 inches. So if I do, I think if I do 4, yeah, I'll do 4 inches. That should leave me with enough. So if I do a 4 by 4, yeah, I can do a 4 by 4 piece. That should go nicely in the back and not hang out anywhere. Again, save these in my little scrap pieces. And then we'll just continue on. So I'm going to turn this over, and I can see that I didn't do a very good job of lining that up evenly on the page now that I've turned it over. This way I don't notice it as much, I think because the pattern distracts me, but when I turn it over this way, I can definitely tell I have more on this side than this. That's okay. No one is going to yell at me. And if they are, I don't need those type of people in my life, right? So let's just use our art glitter glue and glue this down. Okay. Now I also want it to not really show whatever I'm tucking behind it, right? Because again, we want it to kind of be a secret spot. Now this is by no means straight, but that doesn't matter. It's on there, that's all we need. So you can still see behind here, right? I am going to stick a piece of coffee dyed paper behind it, just to give it a little something something. Now, what I need to do is think about what type of dyed paper. So obviously I have this big box of coffee dyed things here, or dyed papers, and I could use a colored piece. It doesn't necessarily just have to be tea or coffee dyed. I mean, we could do something like that. But I think I am going to just stick with something rather on the more mundane side. Let's see what I have. I know I have scrap coffee papers. Just a matter of finding out. There they are. They're literally right next to me. Don't you hate when you're looking for something and it's right in front of your face? I'm just going through my scrap pieces to see if I can find one big enough, and I think this one is going to be great. So this piece is obviously a really grungy dyed one. I think that's going to be okay in the back. That's going to add some interest to that, so I'll like that. And this piece, I kind of over-baked it, so it is a little more on the brittle side. And I don't even think I'm going to use my trimmer. I'm just going to go balls to the walls here and cut it out by hand. Look at me being brave. Okay. So that is good. Now I could have just glued this and not the vellum, but I like the vellum on there just to tone down the grunginess of this piece of paper. Okay, so again, I am now going to figure out which way I like it. So that's kind of cool. What about on the lighter side? Oh, okay, now I'm torn. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What are you guys thinking? I kind of think the lighter side. I was going to go with the darker one, but the lighter one is kind of intriguing. So let's do that. Again, just glue it on. And then that way you can't actually see what we've tucked into this little place. Ouch! Oh, I just poked myself once we glue it onto the page. This will make more sense in a minute. Sorry, I know I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this one, but you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you'll know where I'm going with it. Oh, I really stabbed myself good on that one. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I want is a nice focal point somewhere here. And that can be anything from florals to birds to, you know, whatever you want. So we could have something like that. We definitely need something down here. We need a lot more going on. And I think these birds are just a little too small. I mean, I think this one is going to be way too big. Yeah, I'm not digging him. I mean, he's not bad, but just not the vibe I'm going for. So let's take a look at our floral images. This one's pretty. Do something like, yeah, let's just do that one, because I don't want to spend too much time. I definitely need something to help make this stand out, and I think some book page will do the trick. Some vintage book page. That's a pretty picture. Let's just take this one. And we'll see how very fragile this is. It is like super duper brittle. So I like something like this. I'm not sure about some of those words there. Kind of got to also look when you're using book page to make sure that whatever you're putting on here doesn't have anything that might be not so nice to look at word-wise. Okay, let's take a look at what else we have in our little scrap pieces. I feel like we need a pop of color. What happens if we just get this down? All willy-nilly like. Let's get a little bit of ink. Again, don't ink if you don't like it. Do what's good for you, what appeals to your eye. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to ink this up very much because it is so brittle, so that's why I'm not lifting it up. I'm just using my little foam here to go around the edges. I did a little bit. Let's see if we had this, and then this, and then we put this on here. Okay, I'm liking that better, and I feel like it needs something maybe up here. Do we have a butterfly we could use? Who doesn't like a butterfly? Butterflies are always good for added interest. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. That was quick and easy. Sometimes things just come together really nicely and easily, and sometimes I have to hum and haw about things. I need green. I am feeling like I need some green. What do we have here? This is kind of interesting. This is a piece left over from the book page itself. Let's use our tear ruler on this one. And we just need just a bit of color. Okay. And we'll just work this down. This is what I love, love, love about this type of art and creating is there really is no rules. You just do what looks good, feels good. You know, what I might think looks good, you might not like, and that's okay. Everybody's eye is just a little bit different, but okay, so I have got it all decorated up. That is kind of cool. I like it. The only thing I would recommend is if you are an inker, you might want to ink up this inside edge if you want it inked before you glue down your vellum and back piece here. Just makes it a little easier. And so now we are ready to put this on a page. So let's go ahead and find a page within our journal. And we want something that is, you know, blank, or something that can be easily covered. Like this is a good page. I mean, would be a really good page to write on, but I also I'm not really in love with the whiteness of it all, if that makes sense. I like to cover my white pages or do something interesting with them. And I really actually, just as I turn this over, I quite like the back side of this being on this side like this. I think that'll look pretty cool. So I might have to do a little bit of fandangling here. I think for the most part I had cut it fairly down to size. So I'm going to actually ink up my edges just because this is a titch bit smaller, and that's okay. I'd want it actually rather on the smaller side than the larger side. So let's go ahead. So I don't know why I'm using my old foam, but I was. It's okay. Alright, so we'll quickly do this. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of center this, make it just a little bit even as much as possible, and glue this down. And so I want this to be the secret tuck right here, okay? So in order to do that, we're going to leave this part open, and we're going to glue here, here, and here. Okay, so that just looks like it is another page. but we know that secretly it is a tuck spot that we can put something in here. Now I do have to let this glue down, and then we can tuck a journal card in there. Okay, so that is our hidden tuck. You saw how quick and simple and easy that was. It's just literally like a panel that we put over top of our page. We created some interest. Again, you don't have to cut a hole or anything like that, but it just gives an illusion. You're like, hey, it kind of looks like there's something back behind there. And then you're like, but it's a page. But really, no, it's actually a secret little tuck spot. Ta-da! Okay, so that is tucks, right? So that was pretty simple. And like I said, if you have a signature between 10 and 15 pages, I usually do 2 to 4 tucks per signature, and then belly bands 1 to 2. Now, I don't think I'm really needing to go into great detail with respect to belly bands. I did show you some of them. I think you guys know how to create them, how to use them. There's different ways. Again, like I said, you don't have to do the traditional down the middle, right? So if we pretend that this is our belly band, traditionally we've seen them vertical, we've seen them horizontal, but don't forget you can actually do them diagonally as well, and you can have 2. You can actually do them in an X pattern. This is probably, let's just pretend that this is a belly band going this way and a belly band going that way, and you can tuck something you know, behind that one and then behind this one. Like, there's all sorts of different ways you can actually do belly bands. You can do a double belly band, so you can have something like a big belly band and then a smaller one over top, so you've got something that goes underneath the great big belly band and then something that goes in between the smaller belly band and the bigger belly band. Hopefully that makes sense, but get creative, you guys. I hope that this video was helpful for you in terms of how I decorate with pockets, tucks, and belly bands. This gives me the base to know how many tags and little bits of ephemera that I need for my journals. Again, you are not bound by this. Go crazy, create lots of little envelopes, little tuck spots. Again, they don't have to be big. They can just be little tiny corner tucks. They can be whatever size you guys like. It's just, this again is just to give you an idea if you're struggling on how many of each thing you should include. So it just kind of gives you a jumping off point. So yeah, decorate as much or as little as you guys like. I thank you so much for joining me for another video, you guys. I hope that this proved helpful to you. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss some of my future videos that are coming up with respect to this series. We're going to start making some ephemera pieces to decorate this journal. I'm going to go ahead and create some pockets off camera, and yeah, you'll see what I create. Alright guys, thanks again so much, and P.S. I love you.